Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. At 65, the tragedy of Simon Cowell is beyond heartbreaking. Simon Cowell, a name that has defined decades of television, music, and raw entertainment power, has built a career few can rival. Known for his razor-sharp wit, blunt criticism, and unrelenting drive, Cowell revolutionized reality TV and discovered some of the most beloved musical acts of the 21st century. But behind the confidence, fame, and fortune lies a story that's far more human and far more heartbreaking than many realize. At 65, Simon Cowell's life tells a story of ambition, loss, transformation, and redemption, all shadowed by a series of deeply personal tragedies that forever changed the man we thought we knew. From the heights of success to moments of unimaginable pain, Simon's journey reveals that even the strongest icons have moments when life brings them to their knees. Long before he became a global TV juggernaut, Simon struggled to find his place in the world. Born in London in 1959, Cowell wasn't the model student. He drifted through school, disinterested in academics, with teachers often labeling him a troublemaker. Yet even then, his sharp instincts and unfiltered honesty stood out. After dropping out, Simon landed odd jobs in the entertainment industry, eventually finding himself working in the mailroom at EMI Music Publishing. It was there that his lifelong passion for finding talent began, and where his ambition took root. But it wasn't smooth sailing. Cowell's early career was riddled with failures, rejections, and bankruptcies. He started multiple ventures that collapsed, leaving him financially broken. At one point, he was forced to move back in with his parents after losing everything. For many, that might have been the end of the dream. But for Simon, it was only the beginning. He refused to give up. Through persistence and sheer belief in his vision, he clawed his way back into the industry. Eventually, he began working with artists like Sanita, whose hit single So Macho became one of the first big successes of his producing career. Those small victories built the foundation for what would soon become a television empire. The turning point came with Pop Idol in the early 2000s, a show that redefined talent competitions and birthed the international phenomenon, American Idol. Simon's brutally honest feedback made him both feared and adored, cementing his status as one of television's most polarizing yet captivating personalities. What followed was a career explosion that included shows like The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, and America's Got Talent. He was suddenly everywhere, a household name, a global mogul, a man seemingly untouchable. Yet, despite the millions he earned and the fame he amassed, Simon's personal life told a different story. Behind the sharp tongue and the confident exterior was a man wrestling with loneliness, loss, and the pressure to live up to his own legend. One of the most devastating blows came with the death of his beloved parents. Simon was extremely close to both his mother, Julie, and his father, Eric. Losing them left a wound that fame couldn't heal. He has spoken in interviews about how much their passing affected him, how even at the height of his success he often wished they could see what he had achieved. In the quiet moments away from cameras, Simon was a man mourning deeply, carrying the weight of grief in silence. But tragedy didn't stop there. In 2017, Simon faced a terrifying health scare that shook him to his core. While going down the stairs in his home, he fainted and fell due to low blood pressure, resulting in a serious injury. For the first time, the man who seemed unstoppable realized his own fragility. It was a wake-up call that forced him to rethink his lifestyle. Yet, just when it please subscribe and like the video before continuing, seemed Simon was regaining control of his health, life dealt him another brutal blow. In 2020, during the pandemic, he suffered a horrific accident while testing an electric bike at his home in Malibu. He broke his back in multiple places and underwent a 6-hour surgery that involved the insertion of a metal rod. The injuries were so severe that, for a moment, Simon believed he might never walk again. The pain was unbearable, and the road to recovery was long and grueling. Fans around the world watched in shock as news broke of his near-fatal accident. His absence from television was deeply felt, and for the first time the world saw Simon Cowell not as a judge, not as a mogul, but as a man fighting for his life. During recovery, he was forced to step away from work, something unimaginable for a man as driven as he was. He later admitted that the accident changed everything. "It was the darkest time of my life," he confessed. He spent months unable to move freely, dependent on others for help. Yet through it all, there was one constant source of light: His son Eric, born in 2014. Becoming a father had already softened Simon in ways fans hadn't seen before, but during his recovery, little Eric became his reason to keep going. Simon often says his son saved him, not just physically but emotionally. Watching Eric grow gave him a sense of purpose beyond fame and success. Still, the scars, both physical and emotional, remain. The man who once projected invincibility has learned the hard way how fragile life truly is. He's also faced public criticism over his changing appearance following health struggles and reported cosmetic procedures. The tabloids were ruthless, mocking his face and questioning his health. Simon eventually spoke out, admitting that he went too far with fillers and had them dissolved, calling it a mistake. It was another sign of humility, another glimpse into the man behind the mask. But there's another tragedy in Simon's story that cuts deeper than any surgery or accident: the emotional isolation that often comes with fame. In his pursuit of perfection, Simon has admitted to sacrificing relationships, friendships, and moments of joy. "I was obsessed with work," he once said. "If I wasn't doing something, I felt useless." That relentless mindset built an empire, but it also left him burned out and, at times, disconnected from the world around him. Yet, even amidst the heartbreak, Simon's story is not without hope. His recent years have shown a man learning to embrace life's imperfections. He's been seen spending more time with family, laughing more freely, and letting go of the constant need to control everything. He's also shifted focus toward giving back, helping young musicians and animal charities, passions close to his heart. Today, Simon Cowell stands at a crossroads. At 65, he's still one of the most influential figures in entertainment, but he's no longer chasing the same kind of success. He's chasing peace, health, and connection. The man who once thrived on telling others, "You're not good enough," has learned to show himself a little more grace. The tragedy of Simon Cowell is not that he lost fame or fortune. It's that it took pain, loss, and near death to remind him what really matters. His journey reminds us that even the most powerful people are human. They hurt, they fall, they heal. And sometimes, it's in that brokenness that we finally find what we were missing all along. Through all the highs and lows, Simon Cowell's story remains one of resilience. He's still here, walking, smiling, creating, and loving. Even after facing moments that could have ended it, please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Behind the fame and fortune lies a truth that's both heartbreaking and inspiring. No amount of success can shield you from life's tragedies, but it's how you rise after the fall that defines who you are. Simon Cowell's legacy isn't just built on music or television. It's built on survival, transformation, and the courage to keep going when the world, and even your own body, seems determined to stop you. As he turns 65, fans around the world see not just a legend, but a man who's endured unimaginable pain and come out stronger. The tragedy of Simon Cowell is beyond heartbreaking, but it's also deeply human. A reminder that even icons have to learn how to heal, forgive, and live again. Steps further into his mid-60s, the world continues to see a man who has both conquered and been humbled by life. The journey from arrogant talent judge to reflective survivor has been nothing short of extraordinary. Every scar, every setback, every public humiliation has become a part of the complex mosaic that makes him who he is today. For years, Simon was seen as the man who couldn't be broken, the titan of television, the man who could make or break dreams with a single raised eyebrow. But that same sharpness that defined his success also built invisible walls around him. He became so focused on work, ratings, and perfection that he often neglected his own emotional well-being. When the accident in Malibu shattered his spine, it didn't just break his body. It cracked open the image he had spent decades building. Suddenly, Simon Cowell was vulnerable, fragile, human. In interviews afterward, he confessed to being terrified. "There were moments I didn't think I'd walk again," he said. "You start thinking about everything you've done wrong, everything you wish you'd done differently." That kind of reflection changed him forever. Gone was the invincible mogul. In his place stood a man who realized that money, fame, and success mean nothing without health, family, and inner peace. During those long months of recovery, Simon found strength in unexpected places. Lauren Silverman, his longtime partner, became his rock, caring for him day and night while balancing life for their son, Eric. For years, their relationship had been tabloid fodder, but during this ordeal, It was tested and proven genuine. She saw Simon at his lowest, physically weak, emotionally shaken, and helped him rebuild one step at a time. As Simon healed, his priorities began to shift. The once workaholic executive began spending more time at home, learning to enjoy simple pleasures. Breakfast with his son, long walks, bike rides, quiet evenings. He started to understand that the relentless pursuit of greatness had cost him something irreplaceable: time. Time with loved ones. Time to reflect. Time to simply live. And yet, tragedy continued to shadow him. The years following his recovery were bittersweet. Although he returned to television, his energy wasn't the same. He faced public scrutiny over his altered appearance, prompting harsh and cruel comments online. Critics accused him of being unrecognizable, sparking endless speculation about his health. The media, which once crowned him king of primetime entertainment, now dissected every photo, every expression, every rumor. But Simon refused to let bitterness consume him. Instead, he took control of his narrative. "There was a phase where I went too far," he admitted. "I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. That's when I decided to stop." It was an honest admission, and fans respected him for it. It showed growth, something that had been missing from the old Simon Cowell. Perhaps the greatest irony of Simon's story is that the man who built his empire on telling others to change had to go through a complete transformation himself. Fame had once insulated him, but pain stripped all of that away. What emerged from the wreckage wasn't the cold, calculating judge. It was a man with compassion, self-awareness, and humility. Simon began using his platform for good in ways that went beyond the stage. He became increasingly involved in charity work, donating to children's hospitals, animal rescue organizations, and disaster relief efforts. He also began mentoring artists off-camera, away from the spotlight, helping them find their voices without the pressure of television ratings. For Simon, it was no longer about control, it was about connection. Yet even as he embraced a more grounded life, he couldn't fully escape the ache of loss. The absence of his parents still lingers heavily in his heart. He's often said that the proudest moments of his career feel incomplete without them. "There isn't a day that goes by I don't think of them," he once said quietly. "I wish they could have met Eric. They would have adored him." It's that mixture of triumph and tragedy that makes Simon's story so profoundly human. Despite everything he's accomplished, the millions earned, the shows launched, the artists discovered, he still carries the same vulnerabilities as anyone else. And please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Perhaps that's the lesson his journey teaches. No amount of success can shield you from the fragility of life. In recent years, Simon has opened up about his fear of mortality. After his near-death experiences, he's admitted to living with a heightened sense of awareness. He no longer takes anything for granted. Each day feels like a gift, one he's determined to make the most of. He's been seen laughing more on television, embracing his softer side, even tearing up when contestants share emotional stories. The once icy judge has become a mentor with heart. Still, there's a quiet melancholy in his eyes at times, a look that speaks of everything he's endured. When fans see Simon Cowell today, they don't just see the man who discovered One Direction or revolutionized talent shows. They see a survivor. They see a man who's fallen, broken, healed, and kept moving forward. The tragedy of Simon Cowell isn't defined by a single event. It's the accumulation of moments that forced him to confront the deepest truths of life: love, loss, health, and purpose. He has walked through pain most will never know and emerged with a deeper understanding of what really matters. And though he may never fully escape the shadow of his own legend, he seems at peace with that now. These days, Simon's focus is on creating a future that matters less about fame and more about family. He's spoken about wanting to see Eric grow up, to be a part of every milestone, every success, every heartbreak. "I used to think success was about winning," he said. "Now I realize it's about being there, being present." Those are not the words of the Simon Cowell who once terrified contestants with biting remarks. Those are the words of a man who has lived, suffered, and learned. As he continues to heal, physically, emotionally, spiritually, Simon stands as proof that tragedy can transform even the toughest souls. His life serves as a reminder that no one is immune to heartbreak, and that sometimes the greatest victories come not from winning, but from surviving. At 65, Simon Cowell's story is still being written. The man who once defined pop culture is now redefining himself. And while the tragedies he's faced are undeniably heartbreaking, please subscribe and like the video before continuing.